Hotshots, Jess with Emotional Fire Academy, here today to talk about how to deal with obnoxious noises in life as a highly sensitive person. Subscribe to my channel if you are an HSP, ready to up level and just move past all of these little quirks and irks and bumps of being a highly sensitive person. Welcome, this is Emotional Fire Academy. That's what we do here. I am Jess. I'm so excited to have you. And I'm a master NLP practitioner and former firefighter. So welcome. So this topic is very near and dear to my heart because where I live, I have to deal with a certain obnoxious noise while I cohabitate with it. And it happens about 10 to 20 times a day. So it's been a journey for me on this subject. And so again, as with everything I teach, it is learned through hard-fought experience. So you might even hear the noise while I'm filming. But anyways, so what do we do? This is essentially misophonia. Misophonia means having a strong reaction to a sound that causes the person to experience anxiety, fear, disgust, anger, panic even. And so essentially there's a trigger sound. So misophonia is essentially what it is we've set ourselves up for having a bad habit of the sound is the cue, and then how we respond becomes kind of this habitual emotional response to a sound. And these sounds can be anything from a baby crying to someone chewing loudly to a repetitive sounds like a pencil tapping, or maybe you live by a train, or something that we hear repetitively that just immediately elicits this sensation within us. And it's annoying. We feel kind of powerless against it. We immediately kind of try to withdraw from the sound. And sometimes in life we do experience this. Either we can't control all the other humans around us, and so this is something that seems especially prevalent for highly sensitive people to learn how to deal with. So I just want to remind you, and I have to remind myself of this sometimes, that the noise itself is just a cue. It's a neutral stimuli, and the power that we have is in the habit that we form to that cue, right? With a habit, there's usually a cue and then the associated behavior that happens because of that cue. So when we want to change a habit, which is essentially what we're going to do or look a little deeper in this video, how to change that habit in response to that sound, that's where your power lies, in choosing the habit that we want, in choosing the emotional reaction that we want or the response. So the great Joseph Campbell, one of my favorite kind of authors on reality creation, gave us this quote, and I want to kind of start us off with this. He says, "During the day, thousands of thoughts, suggestions, opinions, sights, and sounds reach your ears and eyes. You can reject them as unfit for mental consumption or entertain them as you choose." So he's saying the same thing. Are you going to use this cue as something that you're going to consume mentally and then really chew on and digest or ruminate about, and this is the choice that we make. And sometimes we do this very unwittingly. It's easy to have some conditioning, some prior conditioning, to loud noises. We just automatically hate loud noises, and then we start to have thoughts in our language of this shouldn't be happening. These people shouldn't be loud. I shouldn't hear that music. The baby shouldn't be crying. If only it could shut up. If only this could stop. If only. So we notice that the sound kind of comes in into our emotional fire triangle, which is back. Woohoo! It's back. And then the combinations of our physiological response, our prior conditioning, and then the language, our thoughts, what we start thinking when we hear the sound, really have to do with the habit that's formed and how then the emotion that we feel and the reaction that we have. So you'll often notice with the cue of the sound, whatever the sound is, you're going to go into the shoulds and the coulds. You're going to start to think, just shouldn't be happening. If only, they could be quiet. If only this could stop. And so that's kind of a cue. This is your signal that, okay, we're then inciting that language. That language is stoking the fire. To then have unpleasant, and then we start to feel these unpleasant sensations in our body because we believe what we're telling ourselves in our mind. We start to feel anger, disgust towards whoever we believe is making the sound. We could feel anxious that it's going to happen again. I've experienced all of these with this sound that I've dealt with over the last, year and a bit. So we have the body response, and then it starts to form a habit because, our equation, we then come up with this equation that when I hear the sound, this means that, like in my case, I felt like I was being disrespected when I heard the sound. I was being disrespected, and I gave it that meaning. So every time I heard that sound, I was like, I'm being disrespected, and that's when we perceive that that's happening, it's very unsettling. You feel very small, you feel very unsettled, you feel disgusted and angry. And so then the habit forms. So this, if you can start to just identify what happens to you if you are exposed to a certain sound that you have to deal with in life, or if maybe it's just loud noises in general, you can distill it down that you can really identify these three sides and break it down into what is happening to you when this sound happens. And these are your triggers. This is all about triggering. And so when we recognize, the first thing to do is have an awareness of what happens. And I invite you to actually, put the triangle down on a piece of paper and write out what you're feeling for this sound. If this is something that you're trying to learn how to deal with or cope with, figure it out. What language, what thoughts do you start to think when you hear the sound? What sensations do you feel in your body? Anger, disgust, anxiety, fear, rage, sadness. And then what is the meaning? What is the equation? There's usually an equation, like the sound equals this. That I hate people because they play loud music. Babies suck. Or whatever your equation is, that given the meaning that you've assigned to it, that you now believe. And figure this all out. And from there, we can then start to change it, right? We can shift our relationship to the sound because, like I said, the sound is a neutral cue. It's a cue. Life is giving us an opportunity with this cue because it has a lot of energy behind it. We've reacted to it. And so this cue is as good as, a timer on our phone or whatever that we can now use instead of making it a tormentor. We can shift our frame of reference on this sound. We can use it as a teacher. Because it's an opportunity. Because all this information that passes through us, this one particular sound or two sounds or, just these single points of data that we can use towards our life goals. And if one of your life goals is peace of mind, which it just might be as a highly sensitive person, life is giving you the opportunity to learn how to zen yourself through any stimuli, because this one has just really gotten under your skin and you just, oh man, dealing with it drives you crazy. So this is kind of where it's like, all right, let me turn this sound into a teacher. Let me shift and be like, okay, I can cohabitate with the sound. I can just accept. One of the ways we can do that is just accepting it's there, being aware of its presence, but catching ourselves before we go into this stuff. So when we hear the sound, we want to start reconditioning ourselves, right? And we're just going to kind of clear our head. We're going to hear it, be aware of it, but then we're going to just, direct our attention back to the present moment, what we're doing, whatever we're doing in that present moment. If we're talking to someone, if we're reading a book, if we're studying, we just want to gently redirect our focus back instead of going into, this thought storm that precipitates then the emotions, the sensations, and then causes a full-blown emotional response where we're engaging with the sound. So that's how we can we just practice being neutral. We just practice being neutral to it. It's like, okay, it's there. and choosing just to keep, because it'll pass. A lot of these noises, they're not permanent. They just come and they go. And practicing, staying present, hearing it, but not catching yourself, and the language is the big part. So catching yourself before you start going into that, you start talking to yourself in your head. You hear the sound, you're aware of it, you cohabitate with it, and it's okay. And then it passes, and you haven't disappeared into the fire. So that's kind of the goal. The first step is just allowing it to be without reaction. And you can do this. You can completely do this. If you are committed to your peace of mind, more so than you are committed to going into old habits and patterns, you can do this. That decision of saying, my peace of mind is more important, and maintaining it through the noise. So that's how we kind of start, is just, having a neutral response. So then, how can we then take it to the next level? You can also have fun with it. You can be playful with it. You can, this noise, my guy and I sometimes will recite Shakespeare when we hear it. When he's over and we're hanging out and it happens, we recite whatever Shakespeare we know. And that brings a lightness and fun to it. If you have some life goals, you can also use it as a cue. Like for me, self-love, really juicing myself up on affirmations is one of my goals. And so when I hear the noise, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna, I launch immediately into those loving affirmations. I'm awesome. I feel really good today. Today's gonna be a great day. And so you can pick whatever phrase you want, and that's part of your own reconditioning. You're choosing to recondition. You hear the cue, you do the action. It's that simple, and you do it. You consistently do it until it becomes habit. That doesn't take very long to do. And any of these responses really is better than letting this sound drive you nuts and interrupt your peace of mind and cause you emotional and mental pain and anguish. Because, your peace of mind is really more important than whatever this noise is. It really is. Your peace of mind is so important, and that is in your power, is reclaiming that peace of mind. And so having that awareness, recognizing what's happening in your triangle, writing it all down, identifying it, and then consciously deciding where you want to go from there. Not being bothered by loud noises anymore, not having misophonia. These are all within your grasp. These are choices that we make, conscious decisions, just for tiny, tiny behavior modifications. It is easier than you think when you commit. So, a great book that might help you in this process is called The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. I have recommended this book before. It's very easy read. It's about how habits are formed and how to change habits, and essentially says the same thing. Essentially, there's a cue, the habit, and then it's a feedback loop, and you do it all over again. The cue, the habit. But it's a great read if you want to go deeper into this subject. And please leave a comment below. Let me know if this helped you. And I do offer one-on-one coaching if this is something that you want to move past in your life. I can help you with this, among many other goals of being a highly sensitive person, and give you some additional support to get you to where you would like to be this year. Reach out to me on my website, emotionalfireacademy.com, to check that out, and have a wonderful, peaceful day. Bye.